they watched how people say, hey, can I jump in front of you and make 5 photocopies? And people would say no, usually would say no, 90% of the people would say no. But then they say, hey, can I jump in front of you because I have to make 5 photocopies myself? Then all of a sudden that dropped to like 30% would say no. Then they were curious if was it the reason they gave or was it the script of because? And the more they tested that, it really didn't matter their excuse that we gave. It was that combining word of because that got people to buy in to the reason. So when we use this in a sales perspective or anything, we would say something. I'm like, Kendall, I'm really excited to talk to you today because. So I'm using the word you as something everybody wants to hear, their own name, the word you, and the reason because as a mental script to show them that there's a reason that we're doing this. The more I can be in tune with their business. So if you're going to go talk to a potential client here, I'm really excited to talk to you because as I've been looking at your website, as I've been looking at this, I think you guys are doing really cool things. And I'm excited because when you said this, that made me feel there's some really, so we can see the whole page good. So that makes that much more ability to connect with them. And then once we start working through the conversation, then we might have to adjust that you and because how do we open the call to give us the right sort of the right sort of kickoff to set the stage for the rest of this. So if we look at this, the first questions we ask is the live page start the webinar. We will be starting to see on this page. Wait 10 minutes. Okay, cool. All right. So what do we know? So this is the first thing. So whether you've had interactions with somebody before or not, we want to know what's the information that matters to me. So for me, I'd be looking at what's the size of the company, who's involved, what is this person, what can I find out? Can I look at them on LinkedIn? What's important to them? All the stuff that I would like to know just from a glance. What matters for me to be able to make a pretty decent informed decision on who I'm dealing with. The second question is, what do we want to know? These aren't qualifying questions. These aren't questions we're going to ask. This is me going, I need to make myself curious about what this is about. So if I know it's this kind of a company, I want to know, have they ever done something like this before? Who else is involved? If I'm talking to this person, who might they be talking to this about? How do they make decisions? What's their level of expertise with this? Has anybody ever screwed them over in the past? What is their, like we said, succession planning? What do they even consider succession planning is? Is there anything on their website, anything that we can see about them that's not jiving, something that we might be able to build an insight around? That's really what we're looking for in these two questions is where do we have the leverage to have the most insight? So as Kendall mentioned earlier, depending on your experience, depending on your insights, depending on your tuition, your background, some of you guys are coming into this, you've got lots of experience that you're bringing to the table. How do we ask the right questions? How do we find room so that if I can get into that part of the discussion and I can ask the right question at the right time, I can help my client cognitively reframe their business, which then they go, that is a great question. And if you're thinking about my business in this way, I should pay attention to things that you're going to share with me because you're looking at it in a way that makes me think. If you can make them think, you're in a better position. So those are the first two questions. Those are the first two things. The first things I want to know, what do I know about them? What do I want to know? Those two things should help me frame how I want to direct this conversation. Then the next part is how are we going to handle what happens after that? So Kendall, tell me a little bit. I want to throw it back to you before I just keep speaking too fast. But those two questions about what do we know? What do we want to know? What do you think there?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think, even relating it back to if someone comes to the call with their preconceived notion of what succession planning is, the way that they come to the call may completely throw your agenda off. All of a sudden, you're now focused on and potentially in a debate about what succession planning is. But if you're clear on what do we know and what do we want, if you can then tailor those questions and your answer to get the call back on track to what the intention was, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then you get into the next part about what do we want them to know, think, or feel. This is really sort of when we think about like your brand, your perception, your unique personal brand as it comes to it. So if you're working with a company, then it's going to be your personal brand and the company's personal brand. But we're connecting to, I've just been doing a bunch of research, so I'm getting nerdy with it. It connects to your ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which is the thing that is when you taste expensive wine, that's why it tastes better. So what do we want them to know, think, or feel? Is there something that we can share, that we can demonstrate, that we can make them feel, that then connects this product, this experience to the brand? So if we create more of an experience around the extension of this product, you're going to have a higher likelihood of connecting them more efficiently to be able to make a decision. So I might say, you know, for me as a sales consultant, I might want people to know this doesn't have to be serious and scary and so focused on numbers. This can be fun. There should be something that we're really getting into, some really fun stuff that I'm going to get people excited. We're going to play around, but we're going to get things done. This should feel different. As a succession planner, I want them to know not everybody looks at succession the same way. Succession doesn't mean exit planning. Succession planning doesn't mean you have to leave the company. Succession planning could be, how do we lift up the skill set? Even like this company I'm working with today, you know, this is a really wonderful, talented, young executive team. Succession planning for them is, how do we help these guys grow their career? So if you can understand that stuff, I want them to think that there's so much to this. I want them to feel there's so much opportunity. How do I demonstrate that in that call that I'm having? So the know, think, or feel is really through this conversation, getting them to either relax, getting to be excited, getting to be, you know, contemplative, whatever we want. That we can really control the experience of this discussion by how we set the intention for it. That's really what we're doing, is setting the intention.
Yeah. Oftentimes when I'm working through the feel, I will think through what are the common emotions that someone is bringing to the call when they think about succession planning, or they're calling, or they're saying, I want to learn more. And oftentimes it's anxiety, fear,
Yeah,
worry. Are they going to be taken advantage of? Is this advisor going to be different than the other one who said that they did succession planning? Or are they just going to want to get assets under management, or just do my taxes?
yeah.
They have some oftentimes interpersonal dynamic that they're not talking about, that they're really worried about. So there's a lot of worry and fear, and is this person capable of helping me? And so what and obviously there's a wide range, but I would say that those are the core. So when I think about, like, how can I come across and position the organization so they feel taken care of, they feel shepherded, essentially, that we got your back. We've been here before. We're a great resource